On Humans, a Primer, 1st edition. Written in this, the 5896th year of the Galactic Federation, by order of the Office of the High Chancellor for immediate distribution. Chapter 1, Part 3. On Cohabiting with Humans. Greetings, Federation citizen! If you have made it this far, then it is safe to assume that you have used the information in the preceding chapters to safely make contact with your human and establish a friendly rapport with him or her. This is all well and good, and you should be congratulated, but do not rest on your laurels or feel complacent. If you are a sailor or soldier in the Federation's armed forces, you will have to engage in regular, extended, and sometimes constant interactions with humans. In such situations, additional guidance is necessary, as interacting with humans can and often does grow more complicated and contradictory the more such interaction is prolonged. What will you do if, for example, you are stuck in an escape pod with a human after evacuating from a Federation starship? How best should you proceed if you find yourself with a human bunkmate? The following paragraphs will help navigate all these situations and more. Pay close attention. The first thing you must be aware of is that humans need to be kept busy. They are, as discussed in the previous chapter, a highly curious and inquisitive race who are easily distracted by anything new, cute, and or shiny. However, in the absence of stimuli or tasks on which to focus their considerable energy, humans can grow lethargic and even sullen. This is a phenomenon humans call boredom, and it should be avoided at all costs, for a bored human is a potential danger to himself and those around him. Humans have been known to do just about anything to avoid being bored, with little concern for the potential consequences. You might think such words are a mere exaggeration, but you would be wrong. Take, for instance, the incident of the Federation starship Orion's Legacy, in which a human engineer assigned to the hyperspace engine's maintenance team began tinkering with the engine's inner workings upon entering a state of boredom. This was, according to the human in question, done simply to improve efficiency, but the effect of his tinkering was to push the hyperspace engine far beyond its intended performance parameters, shatter the fabric of space-time for several light years in every direction, and plunge the ship into an interdimensional vortex. The ship and his crew did manage to return to real space safely after 3 weeks, but this example, and the lingering tear in reality that can still be seen in that spot today, should serve as an example on how dangerous human boredom can truly be. Always remember, humans are designed to be stimulated and rebel at stagnation. You must do your part to ensure that your human is kept appropriately busy whenever he or she is on duty. Let us turn to human Dave once again for an example. You. Salutations, human Dave. I hope this solar cycle has begun on a pleasant note for you, and that you completed your regular nocturnal rest cycle without difficulty. May I ask what you are doing? Dave. Oh, this? I'm trying to create a new type of welding tool for on-the-spot repairs to the ship. The regular one they gave me takes way too long to melt stuff together or carve through durasteel. The one I'm making will burn like 1,000 times hotter and cut through anything like it's made of paper. Note, what Dave is doing is an extreme safety hazard and should elicit an appropriate level of fear and anxiety. You. That is interesting, Dave, but do you not have other tasks on which to focus? Dave. Of course! I had to mop out the galley, run routine safety checks on the escape pods, double check the course calculation for the helm, and do inventory on our food supply. Took me like an hour to finish it all, but hey, I had a lot of coffee this morning. Additional note, excessive consumption of the coffee substance in humans can lead to erratic behaviour. This too represents a potential hazard. All coffee intake should be monitored carefully if at all possible. You. That is very impressive, human Dave. I have not yet finished my own tasks, however, and I could greatly use an extra set of appendages to assist me. Would you like to help? Dave. Sure, I'd be glad to. Let's go. You see, by using the techniques you learned in the previous chapter to redirect Dave's attention and keep his focus occupied, you prevented a potentially dangerous situation and ensured that Dave was kept happily busy on other, much safer tasks. But that conversation could have gone very differently. Let's see a different outcome. You. Salutations, human Dave. I hope this solar cycle has begun on a pleasant note for you, and that you completed your regular nocturnal rest cycle without difficulty. May I ask what you are doing? Dave. Oh, this? I'm trying to create a new type of welding tool for on-the-spot repairs to the ship. The regular one they gave me takes way too long to melt stuff together or carve through durasteel. The one I'm making will burn like 1,000 times hotter and cut through anything like it's made of paper. You. Dave, that does not sound very safe at all. I am afraid I am going to have to report you to the safety officer for formal reprimand. You humans clearly cannot be trusted with any sort of Federation technology. Dave, shooting to his feet in outrage. Oh yeah? Come a little closer and say that. You. Dave, wait! Watch where that laser is point. Seen from space, a thin beam of white-hot light slices through the ship's hull, cutting it in half. Clearly, Dave's outrage at being spoken to in such a condescending manner overruled his common sense, leading him to forget where his new and improved laser was pointing, and thereby dooming everyone aboard. This is precisely the sort of situation this book aims to assist you in preventing. However, there will be times when you and your human have finished for the day and are returning to your quarters to relax and unwind. In such situations, tensions arising from cultural or species differences can occur. As stated previously, humans can be very territorial, and sharing a living space with one can be very challenging. To help facilitate peaceful cohabitation, it is helpful to keep the following guidelines in mind. First, remember that humans have a very defined and strict interpretation on what is theirs, as opposed to yours. If you are of a Federation species with limited or no concept of personal possessions, this may be very difficult for you to understand. Is it not better, you might ask, to share one's belongings rather than keeping them to oneself? In some situations, perhaps, but remember, humans warred amongst themselves for most of their recorded history, and one of the most frequent causes for such wars was the desire to take or keep control of valuable resources. The desire to hold onto what they claim as theirs is deeply ingrained into their species' psyche. If you are unsure what items the human lays claim to, the best solution is to simply ask, or failing that, err on the side of caution. What you view as sharing, the human might view as stealing, and humans hate it when people steal from them. If such a crime is committed, humans will not stop until the item or items have been recovered, regardless of the cost of themselves or whoever stands in their way. An excellent example of this is the 5-system manhunt, in which human naval and law enforcement personnel conducted a massive search across 5 separate solar systems after several Moravoids stole a painting called the Mona Lisa from a famous museum on Terra. For an illustration of this famous human cultural artifact, see Figure 9, Section 4 in the index. The search involved no less than a dozen separate Terran battle groups under the command of 3 admirals. Needless to say, the painting was recovered in a matter of standard solar weeks, and the Moravoid thieves, who scattered in an attempt to avoid capture, were systematically hunted down and apprehended. The last one was found hiding in a cave on the remote jungle moon of Raxos, but such is the doggedness of humans. Why the Moravoids attempted such a thing is impossible to say, as all of them are still eating through tubes in a Federation prison hospital. Note: all humans involved in the 5-system manhunt claim that the Moravoids made the use of extreme force necessary by attempting to employ lethal force to evade arrest. This claim has never been conclusively proven either way, and the humans decline to offer any additional details when pressed. Second, remember that humans like to put their own personal stamp on whatever space they currently occupy. They will decorate their living quarters in any number of ways, all of which are dictated by the personal tastes of the human in question. They may put up large images known as posters, or adorn the ceiling with a variety of multicoloured lights. This may seem eccentric, to say the least, but it is yet another part of their species imperative. Some xenobiologists have speculated that the human drive to clearly stake out their territory is yet another lingering effect of their war-torn history, a way to clearly mark what belongs to them and deter trespassers and potential thieves. But this is, ultimately, not important. What you need to know is that the vast majority of human decorations and living space personalization techniques are harmless and not something to be afraid of, regardless of how bizarre they may appear. Third, humans sometimes have trouble sleeping. Their minds are constantly at work even when they do sleep, and if they are preoccupied, troubled, or stressed about something, it can be difficult for them to enter their regular rest cycle. This is something else to watch out for a lack of rest can affect a human in any number of ways, most of which are impossible to predict with certainty. A sleep-deprived human may be extremely irritable and have trouble focusing. They will become more prone to making mistakes, perhaps with disastrous consequences. If, for example, you and your human are working in the starship's engine room or manning a weapons battery, a lack of focus could cause catastrophic damage. If you notice that your human is exhibiting signs of sleep deprivation, you must gently and cordially invite them to drop whatever they are doing and go get some rest. Let us return to Dave for another example. You. Human Dave, you do not appear to be functioning at optimal capacity since going on your shift. Is there something troubling you? Dave. Nah, I'm good. I just didn't sleep very well. You. Human Dave. Your position as assistant mechanic requires considerable focus and the use of highly specialized tools. Perhaps it would be best for you to go get some rest. I do not wish to see you injure yourself. Dave. What are you talking about? I'm fine. I just need to finish replacing these warp cores. You. Human Dave, I wish only to ensure your safety. Please, return to your bunk and get some rest. I will cover your shift, and I am sure the chief mechanic will understand. Dave. But I'm not finished yet. You. I understand, Dave, but your health and safety must come first. Dave. Well, okay. Fine. But that conversation could have gone very differently. Let's see what happens when you approach Dave in a less advisable manner. You. Human Dave, you do not appear to be functioning at optimal capacity since going on your shift. Is there something troubling you? Dave. Nah, I'm good. I just didn't sleep very well. You. Human Dave, your position as assistant mechanic requires considerable focus and the use of highly specialized tools. Perhaps it would be best for you to go get some rest. I do not wish to see you injure yourself. Dave. What are you talking about? I'm fine. I just need to finish replacing these warp cores. You. If you install them incorrectly because you cannot focus, you will finish not only yourself but everyone else on this ship. Unless you want to get us all killed, I advise you to go find somewhere appropriate and lie down. Dave. Oh, so you don't trust me to do my job, is that it? You. In your current state, I would not trust you to fix the stove in the galley. Dave. Maybe you shouldn't trust me with this big heavy wrench either. You. Wait, what are you doing? Put that down. Smack. Situations like this are why you must do your part to ensure that your human gets at least 8 Terran hours of sleep each solar cycle. The best way to do this is by ensuring that the living space you share with your human is devoid of illumination or ambient noise while the human is trying to sleep. Light and sound can easily lead to sleep deprivation. If you are of a species that is normally nocturnal or accustomed to low-light environments, this will be particularly easy. But lack of sleep is not the only potential cause of conflict between yourself and your human. Lack of food can be just as risky. Humans must have regular sustenance intake at least 3 times a solar cycle. This cannot be emphasized enough. Any deviation from this schedule can lead to hazardous situations. Humans who do not eat, and they can eat an astonishing amount relative to their size, can exhibit many of the same symptoms as sleep deprivation, including foul-temperedness, sluggishness, and difficulty focusing. Thankfully, humans do not suffer from lack of food as much often as they do from lack of sleep, but when they do, the most common cause is overworking. In the previous chapter, we mentioned how humans can be obsessively single-minded about completing a task, particularly if the task in question is one they are struggling with. When faced with such a situation, humans may persist for many hours until lack of sleep and/or lack of food causes them to collapse. Depending on the human in question, it can take days or even weeks for them to recover afterward, so you must keep a watchful eye and ensure your human does not push him or herself too hard. A good rule of thumb to keep in mind is that human must sleep for 8 standard Terran hours and eat 3 times a standard Terran day. This is called the 8-3 rule. If you have diligently heeded all the advice in this chapter so far, then it is safe to assume you and your human are getting along and working together very well. Excellent work, citizen! We are glad to see you making such rapid progress, because now that you and your human are on firmly cordial terms, we can turn our discussion to another trait of the human species. You have probably seen this for yourself already, but for clarity's sake, let us confirm. Humans can, and do, pack bond with everything. Humans make friends as easily as they once made war, and the benefits of having a human friend are many. This is because humans are, as a general rule, fanatically loyal to their friends. While there are humans who engage in deception and might seek to manipulate others for their own benefit, the vast majority of humans are just the opposite. In fact, humans are often just as loyal to their friends as they are to their own relatives. There are a few lengths to which humans will not go to help their friends, regardless of the price they might pay for doing so. One need look no further for proof of this than the valiant last stand of the human named Brian Jones. Jones, who had recently joined a team of Federation xenobiologists, gave his life to save his vessel from being stranded in the void on the star mapping expedition by Federation cartographers. Jones, who had closely pack-bonded with the other members of the surveying team during the journey, heroically entered the vacuum of deep space, clad only in a thin envirosuit, to conduct emergency repairs to the ship's engines, even though he knew he would perish in the process. His valiant efforts saved the life of everyone else aboard, and an entire wing of the Museum of Galactic History now bears his name. Note: humans who habitually engage in deception and manipulation are called narcissists, and are universally reviled by the rest of their species. Many humans would do as Jones did if they found themselves in a similar situation. Humans can be difficult to understand, but if you earn their friendship, the benefits speak for themselves. Few are the humans who would abandon their friends in time of need, and those who do are shunned and reviled. To give up one's life for the lives of those one cares about is always an act worthy of respect. But the humans, as they tend to do, take this to its furthest extreme. Indeed, if you ask a human how they would prefer to die if given the choice, many of them would respond, protecting my friends or family. You might think to yourself that this sentiment is not in itself unique, and you are correct. After all, many other member species of the Federation would give the same answer. Rather, what makes it unique in regards to humans is how far they are willing to go, and the odds they are willing to face in defense of those that they care about. A human with a sidearm will face down an army if it means increasing the odds that his friends will survive. Indeed, the concept of a heroic last stand, or in other words, the act of facing down a foe that massively outnumbers you in full acceptance of the fact that it means your death, occurs throughout human history with disturbing regularity. Humans who have died this way, usually in defense of their family, friends, or nation-state, are viewed with a collective awe that borders on reverence. Let us return, yet again, to our human friend Dave for one more example. You. Get behind me, human Dave. These are Viraxian blood eagles. They will tear you apart. We must find shelter. Dave. Are you crazy? If we try to run, we won't get 5 steps before they catch us. Those things must fly faster than a Federation gunship, and they're almost as big. You. Then we are doomed. Dave, pulling out a lav pistol. No. You. What are you talking about? Dave. I can buy you time to get away if I give those bastards something to hunt. Who knows? Might even be able to take a few of them with me. You. Dave, you can't. If you try to face these beasts on your own, you have absolutely no chance of survival. Dave. I don't need to survive. I just need to last long enough. You. Dave. Dave. Go on now, get out of here. I'll distract them for as long as I can, and when you get back to the ship, nuke their nest from orbit. You. I will do as you ask, Dave. I will never forget you. But what if you had not heeded the advice this book had given you? What if you had not pat bonded with Dave at all? In that case, the situation outlined above might have gone something like this. You. Watch out, human Dave. These are Viraxian blood eagles. They will tear you apart. We must find shelter. Dave starts running. Speak for yourself. You. Are you crazy? You cannot outrun these things. They must fly faster than a Federation gunship, and they're almost as big. Dave. I don't need to outrun them. I just need to outrun you. A tragic outcome to be sure, and this is why you must encourage your human to pack bond with you at every possible opportunity. But how will you know if it's working? Excellent question, citizen. Typically, this process begins within 5 minutes of meeting your human for the first time, assuming first contact goes smoothly, of course. Within a few weeks or even a few days, you will notice that your human is going out of his or her way to engage you in conversation on a regular basis. This human will begin telling you all about themselves, their families, their homeworld, their favourite foods, the list goes on and on. They will pepper you with questions in return, and you should not be afraid to answer in as much detail as you can. The more open you are with your human, the more open he or she will be with you. As your human grows more familiar with you and more accustomed to their new surroundings, they may invite you to spend time with them when you are not working together. This is called hanging out, and can entail any number of extracurricular activities. Your human may invite you to partake in sustenance, or play something called a board game in your quarters. You might also be invited to partake in human literature, or view holo images or video footage of human cultural artifacts. All of these are signs that your human is becoming very attached to you and should be welcomed. There is even a possibility, however remote, that your human might even become attracted to you in a way that goes beyond friendship. Yes, the rumours are true. Some humans have evinced signs of sexual attraction towards other member species of the Federation. For the sake of our sanity and yours, and to prevent inflicting any lasting trauma or damage to your psychological health, we will refrain from going into this matter further. We shall say only this: if you suspect your human is starting to view in this way, you are advised to report to your supervisor or commanding officer who in accordance with Federation safety guidelines will provide you with a specialised manual that deals solely on this topic, as well as counselling from a licensed professional. You will need it. This concludes Chapter 1. Well done, citizen! You have mastered the basics, but what will you do if you find yourself in the human homeworld? What should you expect? How will you keep yourself safe on such a planet so dangerous that it remains the only planet ever to be classified as a T-grade death world? All these answers and more are given in Chapter 2.